Well, good morning and welcome to Move Early, Move Often. It is Functional Friday. I am Blake Martin. And what? Oh yeah. We're on day 5 of our series on what you would do to if you were trying to do some exercises and recover from, say, for example, a mountain bike crash. But yeah, so the ribs on the hypothetical person are feeling, marginally better but functional Fridays, we spend a lot of time thinking about movements that are important for life. And as we age, and I don't know about you, but I'm planning on getting a whole lot older. Um, One of the things that we lose is we lose movement into the backward space, like backward movements, and we also lose movements, lateral movements, left and right, excursions from the base of support. And actually, in interventions aimed against progressive neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, one of the things that they found really effective is dance. And the dance that's really the most amazing is Argentinian tango. And some people theorize that that may be because it asks people to move into directions and spaces that they don't normally move into. There's also a rhythmic component. We're not going to tango today. We're actually going to be on all fours, and we're going to be using quadrupedal movement, but we're really focusing on moving backwards. And so we're going to look at a couple of patterns that we use when we crawl, and we're going to play with those patterns a bit, but we're really going to work on moving them backwards. So with that being said, we need to warm up our arms and wrists just a bit because we're going to be on our hands and knees. And so let's get into the space and let's get at it. So just starting arm circles, gentle, gentle, gentle. Yeah. Arm circles opposite direction. Larger arm circles. If you're on a hardwood floor, you may want to grab a mat. Larger arm circles backwards. Wrist circles, one direction. Really work those risks around. Risks. I said risks. And in the opposite direction. We're going to take the hand and we're just going to point the fingers downwards and with the palm facing away from us. Stretch. Same thing on the opposite hand. Stretch. And let's get to it. So, so here's here's the pattern that we're going to be working with first. We're going to go step hand. Just step. Don't think about synchronization. We're just stepping, and there will be a natural pattern. So just kind of step, and then the same thing backward. I'm going to age myself here. There were these commercials in Canada for a cat food called Purina Cat Chow. And it featured a cat where they just reversed and forwarded the camera to make it look like it was doing the cha-cha. Dance reference, cat reference. Come on. It's Friday. So we're just doing this crawling. Just back and forth. Don't pay particular attention. And what is actually happening is you'll go hand, back knee, hand, back knee. And you alternate those things. That is a fairly normal quadrupedal movement pattern. What I'd like you to do now, though, is I want you to move them in sync. So the back leg and the front hand, move them together. And then the opposite. And try to land at exactly the same moment. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing going backwards. Really land them at exactly the same moment. And then forward. Make sure that your spine is long. Tuck your chin slightly. And really land them at the same moment. Now, when we go into the backspace, I want you to take as big a step backwards as possible with your hand so that it touches your back knee and touches your back knee. This is going to cause you to take bigger steps backwards. Same thing forward. Really big steps this time, as big as possible. So your hand and knee simultaneous, but step as far backwards as possible. And try to move them at exactly the same time. So this pattern is not this is not really a natural pattern. So we're breaking with a little bit what your spinal cord really wants to do. Your central pattern generators in your spine. Really big reaches this time going forward. You should almost be off balance. Really reach back as far, straighten your leg right out at the back. Straighten your leg right out at the back, all the way back. I did not simultaneously do that. Okay, now let's bring it up into a proper bear crawl. So knees are going to hover just off the ground. Knees are hovering just off the ground. And just do the old one. Just kind of alternating hand and feet. Just kind of go forward and kind of go backwards. And really, when you're going backwards, just try to have a sense of the space behind you and to have really expansive, big movements backwards. This works the shoulder flexors in a very different way. Okay, come off your hands for just a second here. Now what I want you to do is when you move into the back space this time, I want you to do that really simultaneous movement so that the front hand and the back leg are moving at the same time. Okay, so I'll show you that again. So come up into the bear crawl, knees are just hovering. Back leg and front hand move back at the same time. So there's this real point of shift. Wow, it's almost like I was going through puberty there. There's this real point where you're going to shift from one side to the other. And at that moment, there's a choice to be made about balance. So really hold it tight. Up into your bear crawl, come forward because we're going to move backwards first. And then really step. And really step. Big steps. Backwards. Same thing coming forward, large steps. But simultaneous. You have to make a choice sometimes about the placement of your knees. Will they go inside your hand, outside your hand? Okay, so work on that simultaneous movement, forward and back. Bear crawl, just knees just barely off the ground. Barely. Get it? It was a bear joke. And then backwards. So that weight shift, especially if you're reaching really far back into the space, is challenging. Just coming forward. And just, let's mix it up again. Just come forward, regular crawling, like not simultaneous. And backwards, not simultaneous. I want you to feel the difference between those two motor patterns. Just regular crawling, just regular bear crawling. And now do it simultaneous. Hand and foot. Reach and step. Same time. It's more challenging. You have to be more on balance, especially when you go backwards. Big reaches backwards. You have to push harder with your arms. Coming forward again. Backwards. Simultaneous. Keep your hips low. Keep your chin long, your neck long, I mean, your chin long. All right, I'm gonna take a little break here before we get to the next thing. So far what we've done is we've done regular hands and knees crawling, forward and back, hands, knees crawling with simultaneous movement of rear foot and front hand, and tried to really sync them up and tried to take big steps. Bear crawling, same thing, regular patterning and simultaneous patterning. Two different patterns. We're trying to override what your brain really wants to do. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move into the back space, and we're going to move diagonally. So we're not going to move in a straight line. You're going to move across and across and across and across. So we're going to go in one direction first. You can't zigzag. So coming forward, and we're just going to do this as a regular crawl. And you're going to reach across your midline with your hand and outward with your leg. And you'll reach out and out. And we'll come forward, we'll do the same thing. Out, out, out. So same side, we're working one diagonal first. And again, we're playing with that patterning. We're reaching in unusual directions, and we're challenging the way our brain, spinal cord deal with this problem. Let's do the same thing from the opposite corner. So reach toward the midline or across the midline with that hand and backwards. And to get it both backwards and sideways at the same time is kind of challenging. So don't forget about when we're going into the back space, each knee should always be moving backwards. So if you watch just for a second, what sometimes happens is people will go like this, and then they just bring this knee in front, and they really don't move it back. So I want you to be sure that whatever your trailing knee is doing, it's reaching backwards, so that you're moving backwards and diagonally the whole time. And try to smooth that out. We're messing with motor patterning. So it sometimes takes a little while for your brain to figure out how to do it smoothly, but it will. Just keep encouraging it to be smooth. Work with an image if you want. Think about your knees being pulled backwards on a treadmill on a diagonal, and then moving forward on that same treadmill on a diagonal. Keep crawling. All right. Let's just take one pass up and back with bear crawl going into that diagonal. If we had more time, we'd do more of these. And then we'll do it on the other diagonal as well. Come forward into the other space. And let's just take a pass or two, reaching backwards, coming forward. I'm going to do one more just for posterity. All right, keeping my knees low, always moving forward or always moving backwards. All right, just come to a rest position. Give your wrists a little massage. They worked hard. A little fold downward, so your fingers are facing down and your palm is pointing towards your forearm a little bit. Do the same thing opposite hand. Little stretch there. Let's open the hand away from us. Palms are out, fingers are pointing downwards. Just gentle, gentle. Just push your elbow forward a little bit. Bright feeling on the anterior aspect of your forearm. I guess it's really the palmar aspect. But you anatomy nerds will come after me, I'm sure. And same thing opposite hand. Interlace your fingers and just do a wiggly wiggly. Shake out the arms. Whew. Good. Well, if you had a hypothetical bicycle crash injury, then you have survived this week. You've been able to move, modified, albeit that you haven't maybe done all the things you would normally do or done them with the same intensity, and that's okay. We need to be sure that we take care of our bodies and that we're respecting where they're at. You've moved early. I hope you remember to move often. Think about moving backwards and how you do it. And I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you back for Momentum Monday. Take care.